I'm gonna give you the perfect workout for athletic performance, and we're gonna start right now. I'm Dane Miller. I've just recently returned from coaching at my second straight Olympics. And one of the big factors around thinking through the lens of athletic performance is understanding the types of coordination that we need, the speed of coordination, even the ranges of motion that we need in a specific workout relative to the sport that we're training. So oftentimes we gotta start off with the best warm-up possible. So you get into something like a workout for athletic performance, I like to have an unstable surface. I even like to do something like staying focused on a position and jumping side to side. Okay, nice and easy warming up. So if we can do something where there's some proprioception here, we get our brain stimulated a little bit, we potentiate, which I think we should have an entire YouTube video on what is potentiation, and we can go through and start to really warm up our body, which means our heart rate goes up, our body temperature goes up, our muscles can start to slide a little bit more effectively. One other question that I had when I was at the Olympics this year is, if I'm inside of a workout, okay, so let's think about this high-speed workout. If I want to use something like a heavier load, so think about a technical coordination movement like a power snatch or a power clean or a back squat or a front squat. When do I use that in athletics, okay? Am I gonna use that for, let's say, a triple jumper or a tennis player inside of an athlete day? Or am I just going to use that for somebody like a wrestler or somebody like a football player? And when we can step back and think about coordination, looking at something like this, right? When we're warming up, we wanna think like easy box hops. Okay, easy box hops here. Just focus on good twitchy reactions. That's another part of that warm up, okay? So if we get through this warm up, even using another exercise like quick skips, nice and easy, nice and easy. If this is gonna be part of that athletic warm up, when do we use that technical coordination movement? And typically what I think about is if we're in a sport where there's an opponent. So if we're wrestling, we're gonna be engaging with one another. Judo, same thing. MMA, same thing. If we're in football, same thing. If we have a soccer player or if we have a tennis player, there's not gonna be an actual physical opponent that we're really gonna be colliding with. With soccer, there will be to a point. But when we're consistently making collision, okay, with an opponent, I think that's where using a technical coordination movement comes into play. So we're gonna get into the rest of this entire athletic workout so that you guys can become absolute freaks. So if we're going to use some type of technical coordination movement, you know, like this actually, this is an easy muscle snatch, and it still blows me away that we have coaches that will do loads and loads of med ball throws, kettlebell swings, and their athletes can't even make contact like this and rotate a bar. This is so simple. It's such a freaking good warm up, and it's something that you can use to really start to light yourself up before you actually get into those high speed jumps. So you could do just the barbell here, right? Or we can get into something that's loaded. And if you're in a sport where you do have that opponent, you could do more weight, okay? You can add some weight and use that to really build into that athletic workout. Now, one of the big factors I want to bring up, inside of our strength training app, Peak Strength, we use benchmarks, okay, to build out our programs. We also use the entire workout layout would look like a specific warm-up, then you get into that first exercise, then you do the hops portion. After the hops, you might get into that really high speed work. And one of the other things that we can do as coaches also is that we can actually look at, does an athlete lack jumping ability or does the athlete lack sprinting capability? So if you're looking at somebody who has, let's say for example, a 38-inch vertical, but they're only running a 4.9 or a 5 flat 40, we've got to sprint more. If we have somebody who runs a 4.5 or a 4.6, but they only have a 28, 29, 30-inch vertical, let's increase their jumps, and we're probably going to see that 40 actually drop. So that's some things that we use to build out our system. And that's what we've used to inform Peak Strength to lay out those specific leg strength days, that upper body day, the impulse day, the athlete day, and now even in our brand new update, now we have those speed specific workouts that you can use for basketball, for soccer, any sport along those lines. So head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store, download Peak Strength and select your specific sport and position to really build out your overall athletic prowess. So if I get into a 2-box position here, let's say I am that athlete that doesn't have the best jumps. Now, I know my counter movement is gonna be right around here, okay? And if I was using that exercise, if I'm somebody who struggles with hip dominant jumping, okay, now I know that this exercise is going to help my hips rapidly coordinate. So I can do like 4 sets of 2 to 3 reps here. Boom, okay. Boom, one more. Boom, okay. And our goal would be to move this at like 2+ meters per second. Okay, that speed, that neural coordination is going to really help us execute more of these high-speed jumps as we continue to develop that athleticism and that rapid coordination. So if we're doing those heavier lifts, we still need to do them as fast as possible. And then after we do them as fast as possible, let's say we do 3 to 5 sets for a single to a triple, somewhere in that time frame. We don't want to have too much fatigue because we're getting into these high-speed movements with a ton of coordination. All right, and the next 2 exercises are sort of like that building block that we're talking about. Okay, we're gonna be building up the body and increasing our overall awareness, our spatial awareness, so that we can coordinate as effectively as possible. And I wanna show you 2 things here. I like to think about high speed jumps or hops as one area. Okay, so hops will be here, jumps will be here. Jumps are gonna be super, super intense. Hops are gonna be a little bit less intensive, and what we're gonna see is some different joint movement. Okay, so if I'm thinking about, and I'm literally right now visualizing like those classic videos of the Maasai doing their like super pogo hops, okay? And they're gonna be more ankle, knee dominant. So in this case, I'm thinking about a jump like this. Well, we'll go turn in air. Oh, I screwed that up. Boo. And just like a little bit of rotation, you can make it as creative as you want. Now, if you watch that, that was very ankle, knee dominant. Easy hops, and we're just turning a little bit, we're rotating a little bit. That's gonna help us get a little bit more awake so that later when we do the very, very intensive exercises, we're really producing a ton of force, okay? Now, if we wanna get more hip dominant, we can go a little bit more lean here. Now we're loading a little bit more of those hips, and it's here, boom. Boom, 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 okay? So let's say you work through those movements, 5 sets of 2 to each side. In between, you're gonna come over here, or in your gym, and you can do a side unilateral jump. So this is one of my like new favorite jumps, especially because it's targeting that hip here. We can go here, boom, boom, boom. Okay, so it's like almost like a little bit of a slight bit of a skip. And again, you start easy, okay? So let's say I rest 2 to 3 minutes. I go back, I hit the boxes. I come back over to the steps. When I'm at the steps, I feel a little bit more potentiated. I'm a little more awake. I have a little bit more neural drive. You saw I was going to two steps. Let's see how I can handle 3. So I'm here. Boom, 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 okay? So you can build into that. Obviously you wanna do both sides, but I don't think I should do both sides because I'll be like this here, boom, 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 okay? So you do wanna do both sides, but the first set of those bigger jumps is gonna be less intensive. It's gonna be more hop based, and now we're gonna keep building into these more complex jumping movements to improve your athletic performance. Okay, so when we set up this entire workout, we did the easy stuff in the beginning. We warmed everything up. We did some of those quick skips. We got that nervous system rolling. And then after, I talked about doing the technical coordination lift if you had a heavier opponent inside of your sport. And I mentioned benchmark training, okay, and benchmark training and how it can show us, should we be more jump specific or more sprint specific, so we can look at those times. Now, what I think is that if you can build into most of the work in your session around those lagging areas, okay, with your athleticism, what we would see is if we're somebody who struggles with jumps, so we would start with something like this. We would do something where we go here, hurdle hop, land, and jump. And one really cool thing that we can do with a lot of athletes that struggle with jumping is we've got to cue them on how to use their arm swing really effectively. We've got to cue them on how to ground effectively. We got to cue them on how to change the trajectory of their chest to then do a bound. So we can sort of build them up and educate them mentally and physically to become more athletic. So we're here, boom. The unique thing here is that we can put measurements down. We can actually see how far they bound. If they land, let's say we move this here, and we can actually use this as that landing zone, and then we measure from that point to see how far they bound. Now, as they get better, and let's say you do 8 sets of this, we can do a couple different variations. You can go hurdle hop, bound, hurdle hop, bound. Or you can go, and this is a little bit harder, when you go 2 vertical jumps over this, okay, then into that bound. A lot of younger athletes struggle with having force application that's gonna be vertical, vertical, horizontal. But as they get better at that, they start to get more athletic, they get more coordinated. So we're here. I wanna bring up why I have this. If we have somebody who struggles with speed, we can get a little bit more intentional. I'm gonna move this back, and we can work with some speed, intentional speed sessions. We've done videos where we've talked about throwing a lacrosse ball and almost using this as your training partner. So let's say we go through hurdle hop bound, rest 2.5 minutes, and we wanna pair that with a speed work. So we can take this, we can toss this. Let's say we throw this, we know this is about 10 meters. Okay, we throw this 10 meters, it bounces, I need to catch it before it bounces again. Okay, so we go here. Oh, that was a bad throw. Maybe I'm just that fast. But we can use this here. That's a terrible throw again. To close in on. Use that for our speed, for our locomotion. Rest about 3 to 4 minutes and then come back to this. One thing I do want to say before I close this out is that we can get really creative if we have a training partner, where you can actually go hurdle hop, and as you're in the air, training partner throws it, you land, and you've got a sprint to go get that. That's a really, really good drill that increases your ability to jump and react and track that ball, which all goes back to that trunk control. That's why we're doing those heavy front squats, those heavy single legs that we do in every freaking video. But it comes out and shows itself out when we're doing these hurdle hops into some type of intentional speed work. So use all these exercises. Head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store, the Apple iOS Store. Download Peak Strength today, because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.